I was very happy today to hear Dr. Hassi, Dr. Hassi's assurance about the recognition of faculty for international service and research. Faculty, tenure track assistant professors and tenured associate professors who have a lot of teaching and research to do, like to do that international service. This is something they enjoy tremendously. But I think we need to find ways to credit that and recognize that effort. So it was very good to hear the assurance. It's very easy to say no to that service because of those responsibilities. And it takes a lot of planning and organizational skills to find the time to do that kind of service. From my personal experience, I found that building teams is very important, both locally and internationally, because this will enable you to find a time to make time for international service. We do a great job here at the College of Ag in recruiting faculty. And I believe we need to continue to do the same to recruit excellent students and excellent technical staff who are highly trainable. Planning is also very important, and the training of technical staff is also important because a project leader who does a lot of the activities in the project will have very little time for other activities. So I think it is very, very key here to train technical staff and to improve on that. Next slide. To me, it's about making a difference, that aspiration to make a difference in people's lives. It's a moral obligation to me. I come from the Sudan, and I know the needs of people in the Sudan in terms of research, especially in southern Sudan, where war destroyed the ag sector, and where an ag sector needs to be rebuilt from scratch. I think it's a moral obligation to do that kind of service. From my experience also, I found international ag service to be to offer life-changing experiences and a lot of opportunities. And I would like to move to the next slide to explain that in details. Dr. Norman Borlaug said that civilization as it's known today could not have evolved, nor can it survive without adequate supply of food. Early on in my career, I went to Summit in Mexico, and I spent 18 months working with Dr. Sanjay Rajaram and Matthew Reynolds, and I interacted very closely with Dr. Borlaug. And I believe that this has left a lasting effect on my career and passion for research, especially international research and service. Next slide. I went to 8 countries in Asia and Latin America to represent the U.S. industry, the U.S. Wheat Associates and U.S. Marketing Center. And I talked to many bakers and millers, talked to these end users about what they like and dislike about the wheat classes. Came back, wrote reports, and sent it to every breeder that I can send it to. What I learned during these visits and conversations with small bakers and millers cannot be found in books. It was a tremendous experience, and it enabled me to talk to my fellow cereal chemists and be able to communicate my needs to them locally. This is one example. That is some steamed bread made out of a hard white winter wheat. It requires different attributes of wheat, that you cannot find in hot red winter wheat that we usually grow in the higher plains. This is I took this picture in a small factory in Taiwan, Taipei, Taiwan, and this shows machinability. This is dough that moves through a number of sheeters to make Asian noodles. In many of our classes in the U.S., we don't have this level of machinability. It's either too strong that it will stick in the machines, or too mellow that it will fall to the floor. So through such visits and experiences, we were able to improve extensibility of wheat in hard white winter wheat. And I was able, based on these experiences, to release 2 white wheats, Wendy and Alice. And Alice actually won the National Wheat Quality Council Award. So these little experiences actually helped me a great deal in my career. Next slide. Well, it takes partnership to be able to do that international service and research. I'm very glad to be part of Texas AgriLife Research. I think we have a lot of tools to help us to become successful in providing this service. We have the Baldwin Institute, and Dr. Price is going to talk about that. I think we are very glad to have this institute to facilitate this service. Interaction with the international universities and research centers is key, as well as interaction with the CGIAR centers and the private sector. And I'm going to explain how that interaction is important. There are 15 CGI centers globally, and their mandate range from crops, specific crops, to fisheries and wildlife and water management. For example, CIMMYT in Mexico has the mandate for wheat and maize. IRRI in the Philippines has the mandate for rice. ICARDA in Syria has the mandate for faba bean and barley. And these centers are funded through the CGIAR, which stands for the Consultative Group of International Ag Research, funded by developing industries, developing in Israelized countries, as well as governments and foundations. And I happen to be at 2 of these centers, which are CIMMYT and ICARDA. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. Next. I would like to highlight some of the research, international research, training, and study abroad activities we have in the department. And we have a great foundation to build on. Next slide. These are some of the projects that we have internationally, or we had internationally. Arsenic crisis in Bangladesh. High toxic levels of arsenic are building in rice in that country. And Dr. Richard Loppert has played a great role in addressing these issues by collaborating with researchers from Bangladesh, hosting international scientists, visiting scientists and students, increasing utilization of cowpeas to promote health and food security in Eastern and Southern Africa, improving millet sorghum cowpea systems in Niger, identification of and release of brown midrib sorghum to producers in Latin America, and the Texas Peanut Crisp program, environmental effects on zinc and iron in sorghum in Mali. These are some of the international projects we have, and I'm going to highlight 2 of those. The first one focuses on increasing the health benefits to African in African countries, and this project is led by Dr. Awika, Joseph Awika, and Bibi Singh, funded by the Dry Grains Pulses Crisp program in collaboration with Kenya, Malawi, and South Africa. And through this project, they were able to identify good levels of phenols and antioxidant activities in these dry beans. You know, these phenols have anti-cancer properties, and Dr. Singh was a breeder at one of those CGIR centers in Nigeria, and he bred many of these cow bee varieties, and he's now testing the ones with the highest antioxidant activities in these countries. The next one is the brown midrib sorghum. Brown midrib basically is a pleiotropic trait that is associated with decreased lignin levels in the stems of sorghum, which makes sorghum palatable, digestible, so it improves the forage quality. But actually, Dr. Rooney and his colleagues added to that trait good grain quality. So those sorghum germplasm can be used for, can be dual purpose for human consumption as well as animal feed. And this program benefited a number of countries in Latin America and Haiti. Next. The department is currently training 37 students from Africa, Asia, and Latin America. The department is also working on a distant plant breeding degree under the leadership of Dr. Wayne Smith. Dr. Rooney, Lloyd Rooney, and Joseph Owika conduct an annual course, that's a short course, to train production personnel from 40 countries. And as I said earlier, I went to 8 countries in Asia and Latin America. And in Latin America, everywhere I go, and I find somebody in a prominent milling company or prominent baking or prominent professors, and all of them had something to do with Dr. Rooney's lab. They were either students or visiting scientists in that lab. So that connection helped the department. It made it very visible. It attracted very good students to the department. This is a great thing to build on. Next slide, please. Study abroad is also part of our international commitment. This improved the visibility of the department in many countries. It enhanced the student recruitment, research collaboration, because these faculty who take the students actually talk to our colleagues in these countries. And it benefited the students tremendously. Can we move to the next slide? We have tours, we have study tours, study abroad tours to Brazil under the leadership of Sam Figley, to Mexico under the coordination of Steve Hagan and Seth Murray. There is one to Scotland, which is coordinated by Jacqueline Peterson. And now there is a group that is getting ready to take a tour to Honduras. The students come back, you know, they look at the cropping systems and the crops and all of that in these countries. They come back with huge experience. They write reports, and their feedback was really very positive and very constructive. The last slide I have is on my collaboration and that of Dirk Hayes with CIMMYT Anicarda. We have 60 students that have did part of the research at CIMMYT. And some of them are sitting here in the audience. And these students have passion for international agri-research. And they want to commit to this global food security. Boja Raj Basnet was funded by the Monsanto's Bishop Bullock Scholarship. And so was Chris Chick. Sean and Francis are funded by the Monsanto's Fellowship. And this is where the partnership with the private sector comes. I think, you know, that partnership between the CGIR centers the private sector and Texas AgriLife research has paid off in the training of these students. We have, hopefully we're going to have a memorandum of understanding with CIMMYT and ICARA to be signed very soon. We have a delegate coming from ICARA on the 15th of November to talk about that and to give a presentation. So we're moving on. So this is what I have to tell you today about our international commitment with regard to research and service. Thank you so much.